Welcome to the Pokescast. I'm Ryan Thorburn with the Casper Star-Tribune, joined by Robert Gagliardi. Robert, the college football season, the regular season is over, and the Wyoming Cowboys are 6-6 after getting dismantled by the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors at War Memorial Stadium last Saturday, 38-14, and it really wasn't that close. Amazing that the same team that blew out Utah State the week before. Utah State is going to the Mountain West Championship. Really embarrassed themselves against Hawaii on Senior Day. And, I guess it's kind of, a small sample size of how the whole season went, up and down.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Ryan. It's still kind of head scratching to me. I mean, talking about this game with you last week, I knew Hawaii had a chance to certainly come in and beat Wyoming, but I didn't expect the Cowboys to play that poorly, and certainly credit given to Hawaii. They did play well, but, just this, I think is, we've even talked about this throughout the season with Wyoming's returning roster, with all the experience and all this and that, if this was a Wyoming team that was young, playing a lot of unproven players, and things like that, maybe you could expect this type of season, this type of up and down play. But I didn't expect that with this group. And granted, when they've shown they could certainly play some really good football. You met the Utah State and even the Colorado State game were really good examples of that. But I didn't see this coming on last Saturday. I thought Wyoming would win. I know we were kind of a little bit hedging on our picks last week, but I thought Wyoming's going to win this game. I mean, they got a lot of play for. They're coming, they got some momentum going now. And that was awful. I mean, I don't know how else to really describe it. You were obviously there. You saw it firsthand, but that was just awful. And it's just head scratching to me. I know after the game, you reported on it, Ryan, Craig Bowl said, hey, if you want to blame someone or say something, blame the whole coach. Well, okay, coach, I get that, but you can't have a lot of those types of games. You have, you can't always just blame yourself for that. I mean, something's markedly wrong there, at least it was for that game. And, coach can say that and put it on his shoulders. And maybe that's what head coaches are supposed to do, because they're the head of the ship, so to speak. But can't be doing that too much longer, because that's not good for business, let's just say. And I don't know about you. I know they're, hopefully they're gonna find out their fate of a bowl game maybe later, on Sunday. But that's still hard to believe, and I'm still kind of scratching my head wondering what happened there.
Yeah, it felt over in the first quarter. They're down 14-0. They really had no clue how to stop Hawaii's offense, and their offense started sputtering a little bit, back to how they were before the Utah State game, and then. It was as bad as 24-0, and then finally Wyoming scores, and you're like, okay, get a stop, get some timeouts, try to score again. Of course they don't. And then, they blow the time management again at the end of the half and give up a first down on a 3rd and 14. They give up a run, which, you knew at that point Hawaii was going to run the ball and just go in with the big 24-7 lead. They still get the first down, even though they're going to run the ball. That puts them in position to try a Hail Mary, which they make look routine, is how I would describe it. I mean, it wasn't like, oh my God, he caught that. It's like, he's going to catch that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a rope right to the receiver.
Yeah. I don't know, whether it's, the players, got, a little ahead of themselves and, or the coaches didn't prepare them, but whatever, that can't happen, Ryan. It just simply can't. Again, with an experienced roster like this, I'm just still very surprised. And even, look, I know the new offensive coordinator this year, it seems like they've gone through offensive line coaches like I go through socks. I mean, there's this, but you're 12 games into the season now, Ryan. I mean, to me, those excuses don't cut it anymore. You've either adjusted this or you haven't. And maybe this has just been a big adjustment year. But again, it's hard for me to believe with the type of roster that Wyoming has. So, I don't know what's going to happen, as far as a bowl game goes. Maybe they get another chance for redemption, so to speak. It sounded like, reading your stuff that The coaches want to coach this team again. The players want another shot to play in one more game, or at least for some of them, one more game this season. And maybe they get that shot at redemption. And in a lot of ways, I hope they do, Ryan, because, that wasn't Wyoming football. At least I know what a lot of fans expect. And even in some of their struggles, I mean, the defense wasn't very good. The defense has been good all season. We've seen the ups and downs with the offense. So unfortunately, that's not, so unfamiliar. Maybe they get a chance at redemption. I don't know, but I'm not sure what needs to happen right in the offseason. But I don't know if Craig Bohl needs to sit down and really fully evaluate his thinking and philosophies, or what he has staff-wise, or, what he has talent-wise. I'm not saying he should be fired. I know there's a vocal minority that aren't happy with this, and I understand that. But whatever happens moving forward, whether there is another game or not, they've got to do some really, really hard evaluating of what's going on over there, because this can't last. And even though Craig Bohl's done a lot of good things here, and, I'm not saying he should be fired, but something's got to change over there, because this can't be happening year in and year out for this program.
Yeah, with regard to the bowl, I mean, I feel bad for the 1996 team, but pretty much if you're bowl eligible, you're going to a bowl these days. I think the math adds up that there's going to be one 6-6 team nationally that gets left out, but everyone else, it adds up almost perfectly in terms of how many bowl slots there are and how many bowl eligible teams there are. In fact, Hawaii was kind of hoping that they could get in at 6 and 7 if the math added up where they had to have, a team that wasn't technically bowl eligible move up. So it looks like every bowl slot will be filled by one bowl eligible team, and there will be one 6-6 team left out. I doubt that's Wyoming, but I guess it could be. So I would expect Wyoming to go to a bowl game. They say they're excited about it. Certainly you hope, you end on a win, and it won't feel like the momentum they had after 19, I don't think. But at least you would have a winning record, I guess. As far as your comment about maybe Bohl needs to reassess things, isn't that what he did last year? Didn't he have, I wasn't here yet, but didn't he have an emotional season-ending Zoom or whatever during the pandemic saying, we've got to change things, and just by happenstance, Vegan goes to Montana State, and they did end up making some coaching changes there. But didn't they already have this coming to Jesus moment? I mean, they did change things, but yet nothing changed. Yeah,
he was very animate. He was very poignant with the media. I wasn't covering the team then, but he was. I did see the video of that, and you're exactly right, Ryan. But something's amiss here. I'm not covering the team, so I can't necessarily speak for that. But is it, some of that, getting used to a new offensive coordinator, the quarterback switch, maybe should it have been done sooner? I mean, I'm not exactly sure, but this is just odd, and, they're not supposed to lose a ton of guys. And we kind of talked about this last week a little bit. So there's some things here, certainly, but this is just odd. Honestly, and you're around this team this year. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, what needs to change? I know you weren't there last year when, Craig Bohl, had that emotional postseason news conference, but, you've been there. I see him from a distance now. What needs to change? Is it just, Levi Williams' team, get him the reps, get him more prepared? Obviously you're losing an All-America linebacker in Chad Muma, but there's other pieces returning defensively. What needs to change, Ryan? I mean, from your standpoint, being with this team this season, what has to change?
Well, first of all, Wyoming's not the only disappointing team in the country. I was at the Fiesta Bowl last year, Oregon against Iowa State. Iowa State manhandled Oregon. They had everybody coming back, Breece Hall, their quarterback, everybody. This Iowa State was supposed to be a playoff contender, and they end up 7-5 with tons of super seniors. You look at BYU, they lost pretty much everybody, and everybody said, well, they're screwed because, all these teams have super seniors, and BYU is ranked, 12th, 13th right now with young, I'm using air quotes, a young BYU team.
Right.
By grade, they're still, older guys with the Mormon missions and everything. But the point is, you just never know, even if you have these expectations and these pieces coming back, every team is different. The chemistry is different. And, that's the funny thing is it seems like this team does have good chemistry and really good leadership. And for whatever reason, it just didn't work out. That could be, like having a new offensive coordinator, a new line coach, I guess. But maybe, I was just kind of looking through the roster, trying to figure out the numbers, with Wyoming being on the recruiting trail right now. I think they have 11 verbal commitments. It's that weird puzzle they're trying to put together with technically, a group of seniors could come back or just move on. Obviously the super seniors are gone, but when you look at their recruiting classes recently, they're true freshmen this year. The recruits from 2 years ago that are, redshirt freshmen, and 3 years ago that are, redshirt sophomores. They have not had much attrition there, and they've got 45 guys in the combined there, 50 guys there that are young guys. It's their turn now, so you wonder if it's just time to say goodbye to a lot of the seniors and start fresh with these classes that have been kind of waiting. That's why I think a bowl would be big for them, because a lot of those guys get more practices and maybe they get a shot to get some playing time in a bowl game.
Yeah, and it's look, you've covered a lot of bowl games, you covered a lot of big bowl games, Ryan, and I hope again the math does indicate Wyoming's got a pretty good chance at this, but I've seen a Craig Bowl 6-6 team got snubbed, and granted there were a lot more bowl eligible teams in. A 6-6 Joe Glenn team got snubbed, and there were still quite a few bowls then. So don't want to say it would never happen to Wyoming, but here's my take on this. And granted, if Wyoming goes, it's probably, other than the Mountain West, the Los Angeles Bowl now or whatever that's called, these are smaller bowl games. Okay. And a lot of fans, at least again, a lot of stuff that I see, and I'm not certainly speaking for all of Wyoming's fan base or anything, they're pretty lukewarm at best about this football team and bowl chances right now. But I'll just say this, and I'd like to get your take on this, Ryan, is if Wyoming is fortunate enough to get a bowl invite, whether it's New Mexico or wherever, it doesn't really matter where. It's going to be a pre-Christmas bowl game. If they really want to go, if like Coach Bull said after the game, they hope they get to coach him again, and if the players really want to buy in and do this, great. Then go in and make the most of it. It really doesn't matter. Bowl games are really for the players. Certainly you want your fans to be behind you and go to these games and support you, and that's great. But if not, that's fine. I don't care. It's about these players. It's about their reward, and maybe in this case, maybe it's a little bit of redemption from a very up and down and frustrating 2021 season. So if that happens, I just hope that Wyoming goes into it all in, gives it everything they can, certainly enjoy the bowl experience. And, if you win, great. If you lose, don't lose because, we just want to get our free bowl gifts and let's just get out of town. If you're going to do this, go all in and do your very best and let the cards fall where they may. I'm curious to get your take on that. If, you've seen enough, Ryan. Yeah, I mean, even in bowl season, some teams are, we're in a bowl game. That's great. But, I just want to, go to the beach, wherever it's at, get my bowl gifts and then get out of town. I don't care. I don't want to see that from a Wyoming team if they go to a bowl game. If they get beat and it's that's one thing. But if you don't want to go, then don't go. I almost have as much respect for a 6-6 team saying, I think we're just going to punt on a bowl game this year and get ready for next year than just say, we'll go and then just basically don't want to be there and don't show up on the field. What's your take on all that?
Yeah, I asked Craig Bull that after the Hawaii game. I said, do you get the sense that these guys want to keep going? Because a lot of teams that end on this kind of note just, okay, let's just call it a season, start over next year or move on, whatever. He was adamant that the locker room was down and they want another shot to redeem themselves. And, as E.Z. Hearn said, if they get a bowl game, they're going to dominate an opponent like they should have been doing all year long. So It seems like the coaches and players want it. I think it would, like I mentioned, I think it would be good for the next generation of players, and they have a lot of young guys. This is not an old team. There's some old players that are key leaders on this particular team, but this is a young roster. And, so far, the NCAA transfer portal is going nuts right now, but it's not at Wyoming yet. Now, that doesn't mean they won't have transfers, but right now it seems like they're all sticking together and they want a bowl game, and I know a lot of guys are looking forward to next year because maybe it's their turn. So I think it would be good. I'm for bowl games. I mean, we're looking at 9 months from now or more until the next game at War Memorial Stadium, Robert. I mean, it does feel like a long season when you go through it, but then you have so much time for the next season that you're like, can't wait for football. So why not play one more game and make it, 8.5 months you have to wait instead of the 9. So I'm all for that. And, I don't really have a good sense on where they're going to be going. I would think it would be the New Mexico Bowl. I would think it'd be great if they could match them up with UTEP and Dana Dimel or something like that. Mm-hmm. Some good storyline like that. The basketball team will be in Hawaii at the same time as the Hawaii Bowl. I don't know if that matters or not. You would have 4 Wyoming events if Wyoming were in the Hawaii Bowl, the 3 games at the Diamond Head Classic and then the bowl game. Even with those 4 events packaged together, I don't think a lot of Wyoming fans are going to be able to swing those plane tickets to Hawaii at this late stage, the holiday rates, and tack on the late process of it. So, I think New Mexico Bowl would be fine. I don't think there'd be a lot of people driving down there necessarily, but they were just in Boise. I don't think the Potato Bowl is something that fans would be too excited about. Maybe it's a chance to get a win on the blue turf that isn't against Boise. I know they've done that once before, so the options aren't great, but like I said, it's better than not playing football, in my opinion.
I would agree with you, and we'll see what happens. We'll probably should know Sunday when, I think New Mexico would be good. I do like that Wyoming UTEP matchup, an old WAC matchup, and the whole, Dana Dimel was, the coach. I know Tom Berman was with the Cowboy Joe Club at the time when Dana was the coach at Wyoming. I think he's the only one in the athletic department that was, well, of course, Kevin McKinney was there, but that's kind of cool. I know the New Mexico Bowl was good when Wyoming played in it in 2009 and 2011. I know they had a good experience. I don't imagine that's changed a whole lot. So, and it's not that far away where fans, at least, from this part of the state, it's more easily accessible for them if they chose to go. A lot of Wyoming players, from the Colorado area, that's accessible for them. And I don't know about you, Ryan, but, look, whether it's the New Mexico Bowl or the Potato Bowl or any of that, these are all pre-Christmas bowls. They're not the cream of the crop of the bowls, but they're still a bowl game. But there's one advantage to that, in my opinion, and maybe this is a selfish one covering a few of these. Look, you don't have to worry about, you get all this in before Christmas, and then you can go about your Christmas plans and stuff. And I know that means a lot to these kids too. Yeah. Would they rather be playing on New Year's Day or even on Christmas Day, like in Hawaii, maybe if it worked out? Sure. But there's some advantages to it, and they get some extra practice time. But honestly, in these earlier bowl games, you get that extra practice time, but it's not like they're getting a month worth. So, but hey, any extra snaps, any extra reps for young players, and for some of the ones that are going out their last reps. So there's advantages. Is it the most ideal always? No, but I hope that it'd be nice to see him get that opportunity and then take advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah, and when you look at the Mountain West, it's interesting. I think we touched on it last week, but if Cincinnati were to lose to Houston, right now San Diego State is ranked, I think, 2 spots ahead of Houston in the playoff rankings. It'd be interesting to see, would that hold, and would they go to a New Year's Six bowl if Houston beat Cincinnati, or would Houston jump ahead of them based on that win? That would be interesting because, if San Diego State goes to a New Year's Six, obviously everyone goes up a slot in the bowl pecking order with the Mountain West tie-in bowls. Utah State, whether they beat San Diego State in the Mountain West Championship or lose that game, I would imagine they're pretty excited to go to a bowl game. They were picked last in the Mountain Division, finished first. Imagine their fans are still excited. They bounced back from that Wyoming debacle to beat New Mexico and advance to the championship. Fresno State, they have good fans, but they've lost their coach to Washington. And I'm guessing Jake Hayner, their quarterback, maybe it's already been broken or not. I guess he's in the portal. I'm guessing he's going back to Washington, which is where he came from. So I don't know how excited that team is to go to a bowl game right now without a coach and a quarterback.
And I think they lost their the Jalen Cropper. They're one of their very good receivers. I think he's in the portal now too. So, what's that going to be like? So exactly. And
Boise State, they have a first-year coach, and I know that he's probably excited the team to go keep it going and keep building. But I don't think their fans are too excited with, they've been to the Fiesta Bowl and some other things. They were spoiled there for a while under Peterson. So I don't think they're super excited. The Arizona Bowl was kind of hint tweeting about how great Wyoming's fans were, before the Hawaii game. So I think the Arizona Bowl is as disappointed as Wyoming fans that Wyoming laid an egg. And, it's hard to imagine the fan base recreating what happened 2 years ago based on what's happened this season. But, it's just interesting with the portal that now Fresno, who had it going on this year, is rebuilding next year. Hawaii's quarterback, Shavon Cordero, who was spectacular the other day. I think that had to be one of his better games, certainly on the mainland anyway. He's in the transfer portal now. So, it could be worse. A lot of these programs are getting picked apart with their coaches, and then the portal, once they develop a good player. So Wyoming hasn't had that problem yet, but at the same time, that means Power 5 teams aren't coveting your coaches or coveting your players right now. So I don't know. I guess it's a double-edged sword there, but it just seems to me like so far, and we have a pretty good sample size, Craig Bohl's program is about developing players, getting to lower level bowl games and putting guys in the NFL, and not about championships. So my question is, can he get a championship before he retires?
It's a great question, Ryan. I thought if there was going to be, if this was, I thought going into this season, this was his best chance to do that. Even when he, with Josh Allen's magic in 2016, when they won the division championship and played in the Mountain West championship game, even though they came up short, that was great, but I don't think that was expected. And well, I know it wasn't expected. I thought this was his best chance to do that. Now, doesn't mean he doesn't have a chance to do it, but I don't know, Ryan. I guess on paper, he just kind of looks like it doesn't look that good, but I know a lot. You probably hear it too. Some fans are like, well, I'm sick of mediocrity. I'm sick of this. And look, I get it. I don't want to necessarily poo-poo that, but they have been bowl eligible 5 out of the last 6 years. That's something. And are there a lot more bowl games? Like you mentioned, the 96 team that was nationally ranked, won 10 games that didn't go to a bowl game. But that's, but they haven't had, you could say mediocre. That's one way to look at it, but that is success at varying degrees, I suppose. But they haven't had that kind of sustained success, Ryan, in well over 20 years. I mean, you almost really have to go back to the late 80s, the Roach years where they had that kind of success, and even go back before that to the Sugar Bowl era where they had that kind of sustained success, although those teams were winning 9-10 games, not 6 or 7. But do you want that, or do you want to, unload a coach after every 5 years and have to rebuild? You know what I mean? It's just, I guess it just depends how you want to look at it. But your question, will Craig Bohl win a championship here before he retires? Your guess is as good as mine, but I guess if I had to make a concerted, educated guess at that, I'd probably say no at this point. But I'm not saying it's impossible, but just based on what we've seen, I don't see it right now.
Yeah, they definitely have stability. They have consistency. They have a brand. They have a style of play. They have a lot of good things. They have good facilities. They're developing 2-star recruits into NFL players. Their defenses most years are really good. Their running game most years is really good. Now, they haven't had a quarterback kind of flash since Josh Allen, who might be, once in a lifetime type of player around here. But, I think that's the area where they need to take it to the next level. And you're seeing some signs with, Isaiah Nayor and Levi's had his moments, and, Titus Swin looks like a dynamic running back. So there's pieces in place, and maybe, as I keep alluding to, maybe it's time for, some new leadership to emerge, some younger players to be in the starting lineup, for some guys that have been around a long time to give the NFL a shot, or just, almost all of them have their degrees. They've been around a long time.
Right.
I'm talking about these seniors that technically could come back because of the COVID year, but have played 4 years of quote unquote varsity football in Wyoming. So it'll be an interesting offseason for sure. And, the recruiting class is only 11 at this point, verbal commitments that are probably planning to sign December 15th. And a lot of that is because, like I mentioned, these previous 3 classes have pretty much remained intact. I'm used to more attrition at a place like Oregon, where, they had a 5-star guy in last year's class who's already at BYU. I mean, people get so excited about these recruits, and then half of them are never heard from at the level that, their stars are. So, it's kind of, how do you want it? Would you rather be Oregon? Obviously, maybe you would be. They go to Rose Bowls, they win Pac-12 championships, they get 5-star recruits here and there, but it's a wild situation when you're recruiting that type of player. It's just a different world you're living in. So just the emotions of players coming and going is a lot different there. But I don't know. I think Wyoming has a good recruiting philosophy and a good developing philosophy. You would just like once every 3 or 4 years for them to be in the hunt for a championship in the Mountain West. I don't think that's too much to ask from Tom Berman and the fan base, given, the salary Craig Bohl is making, which is at the top of his conference, and the facilities they have.
Right. I'd agree with that. So it'll be curious too, Ryan. And you've mentioned this, where, Wyoming is, Craig Bohl said this from day one. This is a developmental program. They're going to do it with high school players. I know they've delved into the junior colleges a little bit and done okay. And they've even, Azizi Hearn was out of the transfer portal and everything. But I think if you're at a place like Wyoming, Ryan, and look, that's fine. I don't have a problem. I like Craig Bohl's philosophy, going with high school players. I'm not questioning that. But look, when you're at Wyoming, your recruiting pool isn't the deepest as compared to most places around other colleges, not just from in the state, but, even when you're even in your recruiting grounds. And I guess what I'm saying is, I'm not saying, all right, truck this, go get JC and hit and raid the transfer portal and do that. But I think you've got to be also aware that those are recruiting resources for you, and that, don't ignore those. And I'm not saying Craig Bohl has, but if there's some players that you really need some help with, and I'm not, whether it's whether it's a quarterback or if it's an offensive lineman or something, I just hope they're not completely shutting that out. Because look, in this day and age, Ryan, you need every recruiting tool and resource that you can. And I just hope that, they're not being too blinded by, this is the way we have to do it. Look, if there's somebody in the portal, like you said, could easily be someone Wyoming has recruited in the past and maybe has a relationship with. I just hope they're not completely shutting the door on some of these things out of stubbornness. This is the way we do things. As you've seen, and you've been covering college football a long time, Ryan, this sport and its business and its recruiting, I mean, everything about this thing changes every year in some way, shape, or form. It evolves. And I just hope that Craig Bohl and his staff are evolving too. Again, I'm not saying, hey, truck the high school stuff, go raid the portal and go hit the JC ranks. Just I hope they're aware of these things. And then if they need some immediate help to maybe get them over the edge to start being more competitive to win conference championships, that they're doing it, I guess.
Yeah, I think you just need to make sure that your players know that they can't be afraid of competition, and that's where it starts. And, like at Oregon, they have 3 basically freshmen or redshirt freshmen that were 4 or 5-star quarterback recruits that are next in line, quote unquote. But I guarantee you, if Spencer Rattler had any interest in Oregon, they would bring him in and they would tell those guys, hey, you want to be the quarterback? Beat him out.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be afraid to say, hey, we're going to get a guy from the portal, but I hope we don't lose, the guy that was penciled into the depth chart. No, that's on that guy to rise to the challenge, and you can't be afraid of that. I think I think if you're at Wyoming, there are so many people in the portal. There's more people in the portal than there are going to be scholarships available by far. So there's going to be some quality players that are desperate to improve their situation. And I think bringing in 2 or 3 of those guys at positions where you need more competition, I mean, you'd be crazy not to do it.
Absolutely. Agree 100%. And even look at even the junior college ranks, same holds true there. I just hope that they're not just going into the recruiting with the blinders, like it's high school players are busted. Again, it's philosophies work pretty well. You don't get me wrong. I'm not second guessing them, but I'm also just hoping that they're not putting the blinders on and knowing that, realize what else might be out there for them if there's some immediate needs for some help. I just hope they're realizing that.
I want to give you a shout out, Robert, because your picks were 5-1, I believe.
That's making money. Week. That's making money right there. Yeah.
And I was 2-4. We both missed on Wyoming, which shouldn't even count. I think everybody missed on Wyoming. So you finish the Mountain West regular season, since we were doing that, 21-19-1, and I think I was 16-18-1. No, 18-22-1. So you win that one. But who you like in the Mountain West Championship, San Diego State or Utah State? I don't have the line in front of me, but just who you like in general.
The line I saw early in the week was San Diego State by 6. And I like the Aztecs, Ryan. Look, congratulations to both teams for winning their divisions and being there. And no disrespect to Brady Hoke, because he's a good coach, but Blake Anderson should have been the Mountain West Coach of the Year for what he did at Utah State. I mean, they were picked last. What was their over under, like 3 or 3.5 going win total for the year?
Again, speaking of the transfer portal, he brought in a ton of guys through the transfer portal.
Right. So congratulations to them. But look, San Diego State just seems like it's on a mission. And like you mentioned, it's not out of the realm of possibility where if San Diego State takes care of its business, and that's first and foremost, but maybe they end up in a New Year's Six Bowl. There's still a lot for them to play for. I think, don't get me wrong, a lot to play for Utah State. And I just think this is it's on San Diego State's temporary home turf. And I just like the Aztecs. I think they cover that. I think their defense will shut down Utah State enough, and I think Utah State or San Diego State wins fairly easily.
Yeah, I think they will too. Just based, I only saw Utah State obviously in person the one time, and Craig Bold noted how much bigger his offensive line was than their defensive line, and they kind of felt like they could handle them. San Diego State has kind of the same philosophy as Wyoming. They just do it better in terms of winning 10 games a year instead of 6. So I think the Aztecs will get it done. Imagine if they didn't lose to Fresno State this year. Where would they be in the college football rankings? I mean, and there could be major chaos this last weekend. I'm not saying they'd get in the playoff, but they'd be, up there in the top 10 probably if they were 13-0 after winning the Mountain West.
Yeah, absolutely. And if not, the way Cincinnati had played, but if San Diego State goes into this game undefeated, they're ahead of Houston. They're well ahead of Houston. They would have been well ahead of Houston, not just a little bit now. They would have been well ahead. So that could have been big for them. But still a really nice year for the Aztecs. And again, they're one dynamic quarterback away from maybe being a contender for the college football. I mean, that's just how they roll. They're one dynamic quarterback away from being really, really special.
Yeah, it's amazing because Brady Hoke got fired from Michigan after the 2015 season. He comes to Oregon as defensive coordinator for Mark Helfrich. Oregon goes 4-8. that staff is fired. Then I believe he went a couple other stops, Tennessee, one other one, and the NFL got fired. I think he got fired 4 or 5 years in a row from his job. Goes back to San Diego State, and now look at him.
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing. But that some places are just a fit, and he's a fit at San Diego State.
Yeah, it's fitting in well, living life, living in one of the best cities in the country. Weather's always pretty good, right by the ocean, getting, doesn't have to go overly far to recruit. I mean, hey man, it's a good gig if you can get it.
Yeah, I wish the Poinsettia Bowl was on the table instead of the New Mexico Bowl, but
yeah,
that thing doesn't exist anymore.
That was a sad day when they got rid of that one. That was a good one. That was a good one.
So before I get you out of here, Robert, let's talk a little men's basketball. Wyoming is now 6-0 with 3 true road wins. They beat Cal State Fullerton the other night. Wow, this is quite a start for Wyoming. I mean, you look at some of the numbers, I think they're 6th in defensive field goal percentage, 6th in scoring margin. They're in the top 20 in scoring and certainly in defense. Points against. I mean, it's an amazing start. I know we keep saying that, but it's true. I mean, we thought there would be much improvement, but the defensive improvement is just mind-boggling. They're like a Larry Shiat team on defense now, and I don't know who is a good offensive coach at Wyoming. They've got it all right now.
Right. Steve McLean, was a pretty good,
the early 2000s McLean offense and the Shiat is what they've been early.
Yeah. And again, it's early, but it's certainly encouraging. And, what I was really impressed with, Ryan, in their last win against Fullerton on Monday on the road was, when they beat Grand Canyon, hostile environment, but they were killed on the boards, but they did much better. But they out rebounded them by 12, I believe. I think they had 10 offensive rebounds. I mean, there were years under Shiat, and this is no disrespect to Larry, because Larry Shiat wanted them to get back on defense. Offensive rebounding wasn't a priority, but heck, Ryan, it seemed like there were seasons under Shiat, even their really good seasons with Shiat, they didn't have 10 offensive rebounds, period. You know what I mean? But they adjusted to that, and they took Fullerton's best punches in the second half and withstood. They never lost the lead, and then they go on and win fairly handily. I mean, look, three road wins is 3 road wins. And, I don't know how this will translate to Mountain West play, but I really like this team. I really like they find ways to win. They've been consistent offensively. That you mentioned that more than anything, though, it is the defensive improvement that they've made. And if they can play defense like that, that's always going to, I don't know if they're always going to shoot the ball and be that productive offensively. If you play defense like that, you're going to be in a lot of games, and you're going to win a lot of games by being able to do that. So look, they got, Denver coming up Thursday night, McNeese on Saturday. You don't take anything for granted. They get to 8-0, then there's another big, obviously the biggest road test at this point when they go to Arizona coming up. But this is a fun team to watch, Ryan. You've gotten to see them play. I know from a distance they've been fun to watch, and I just like how diverse they are. Yeah, they're scoring it, but they can lock you down if they need to hit the glass. They can. Hunter Maldonado has always been very good, but he's coming into his own. I guess when you play 100 games at the college level, you get that experience. That experience helps. The inside game, guys like Jake Jeffries stepping up. I mean, this is a fun team. I'm excited to watch them. I'm excited about each and every game because it seems like you learn something new about this group every time you watch them play so far.
Yeah, what's really impressed me is how they close games on the road. They squandered a lead at Washington. It ends up going to overtime. Then they dominate the overtime. Grand Canyon, I think they fell behind 61-60 and then scored the last 8 points of the game. And then the other night they had, a similar run at the end of the game where it's like, okay, this thing's getting really dicey. And then they just closed it. And you mentioned Drake Jeffries, their last home game, granted it was against Hastings College, who had COVID issues and only 7 of their players, but still, to knock down 11 3-pointers in one game, Drake did, which is a Mountain West record, obviously a school record. And then the team had 28, which ties the NCAA record. Like Linder said, it's hard to make 28 out of 52 when you're alone. And that's what they did as a team with the guys trying to guard them. So, one night they're shooting lights out from three like that. The next they're locking down, a really good Fullerton had some really good forwards that, that got their points, but didn't really do the damage that they've done against other teams, especially on the glass, like you mentioned. So, they can do it all. They can shoot. They can go inside to Graham Ike. They can defend. And Linder's a heck of a coach.
Yeah. These are his guys. I know, Maldonado has been around, but these are his guys, and look at what he's done so far. And, you lost a player like Marcus Williams who transferred to Texas A&M, and I don't know, at least record wise, you can say Wyoming's better. We're still early. I don't want to go too far with that, but he's done a great job. He's brought in some good talent. He's developed that talent. And not to say that this Wyoming team has arrived talent wise. I mean, Tom Berman saw something in there, and I think fans are starting to see what they saw in Jeff Linder. See if they can keep it up. We're still we're just getting into December. There's a lot of basketball. I hope we're having this conversation in March, Ryan, to be honest with you. So we'll see what happens. You'd like to think as more of this team plays together, they will get better, but hopefully they stay healthy. But it's been a fun start, and it's been a very intriguing start for this team. And I think they're starting to get a little bit more attention from fans around the state.
Yeah, we're taping this on Wednesday night, and as of right now, there's 18 undefeated teams left. Colorado State's one of them. Wyoming's one of them. Should make for some fun in the border war. And obviously, everyone expected Colorado State to be good, and they are very good. I think they should be in the top 25, but they're creeping towards that. But of those 18 unbeaten, Wyoming is the only one with 3 road wins, and only 2 others, Weber State and USC, have 2 true road wins. So that's gonna come in handy with their resume. I mean, if losing or obviously winning at Arizona, that's going to be a good thing for your resume. Either way, they got the Diamond Head Classic where they're going to have Stanford. Maybe you can run into BYU out there. That would be fun for everybody. And again, you're going to have teams like San Diego State and Colorado State coming to Laramie, and that's a chance to knock off, potentially more high-level top 20, top 40 type resumes. So it's going to be fun. Like you mentioned, Thursday night, 7 p.m., the AA against DU. There's been some coaches in recent years at Wyoming. I'm not going to name them, but there were some coaches where the DU game was a back-and-forth series and kind of a dangerous thing. I'm not saying DU won't compete tomorrow night, but it feels like Wyoming is at one level and DU has remained at that other level. Yeah,
there was a good, and for a good period of time where that Wyoming-Denver game was a good game, whether it was in Laramie or certainly down in Denver. I know Wyoming certainly had its, the place in, Magnus Arena is kind of a house horse for Wyoming, but granted this one's in Laramie. But look, I'm sure, I know what DU's, got a new coach. They're trying to kind of find themselves, but you don't want to take things for granted, but you got to think this is a game Wyoming wins if they continue to do the things they've done so far. And then McNeese comes in, and it's kind of ironic, Heath Schroyer was the coach. Now he's the AD at McNeese. And so they have a new coach. So we'll just see, and I know I've heard Coach Linder say this. I've heard a lot of fans say this, this team is 6-0 and, deserves your support. It'll be interesting. It sounds like the weather's supposed to be good these next couple of days, for these games. What kind of, are people going to start coming out to watch this team a little bit more? It'll be interesting. Ryan, you've been around Wyoming long enough, growing up here when Wyoming teams are good, especially some of the big ones, football, basketball, women's basketball, heck, even wrestling. We've seen that in Mark Branch's tenure here. People come see you. They'll come to you. They'll come watch you. I'm curious to see what kind of crowds they're going to get these next couple of games now that, they're 6. And again, it's still early. I understand it's December and blah, 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 but weather's supposed to be good. I'm curious of the crowds more than anything for these next 2 games.
Absolutely. I went for a long walk today because it felt like September 1st. It was, the weather is just insane. This is not the Laramie I remember from back in the day at all. I'm not complaining. I know it's coming. I'm not complaining. But yeah, I think Linder was pleasantly surprised that on Black Friday, with no students available, they had, over 3,000 for Hastings, which is not an opponent, and he did challenge him after the Grand Canyon, like, let's get the double A rocking. It reminds me a little bit of Cheyette's first year. He was one and done, but his first tenure at Wyoming, where it started out slow, and then by the end, when they were in the thick of things, they had the crowds back. So It just was a slow build, and I think that's what this is going to be. I would expect decent crowds, Thursday, and certainly Saturday is a day game with good weather. Could be a good crowd, but I think it'll build and build, and then unfortunately that Colorado State game I think is a weeknight, but there's going to be some Saturday day games against high-end Mountain West teams where I think it'll be rocking again.
I hope so, because it's, Ryan, as you remember, there's no better play. The double A is a lot of fun when it's rocking. And granted, it doesn't have to be full. I mean, I've seen the double A half full, and I know it's not at the 15,000 capacity as it used to be, but was it a little over 11 now? But you get 5,000 people in there. And obviously the more, you don't need to have that packed to have that place rocking. And it's a fun place to be, covering pretty much been to all the Mountain West arenas. Wyoming can be just as daunting as the Pit in Albuquerque or, Vias Arena in San Diego. When it's got people in there and they're making noise, that can be just as raucous as anywhere in the Mountain West. And we sure would like to see those days return here awful soon.
Yeah, and knowing Wyoming fans the way I do, I know that they'll be looking forward to going to Las Vegas after missing out last year. And obviously the women's team is looking to make another run down there this year. And if Wyoming's in the thick of it, maybe you just need to make it to the semifinal or the final, as good as this league is, and you might have a shot at the NCAA tournament. So I'm really looking forward to covering this Mountain West race. I've followed the Mountain West closely, even when I was at Oregon. I write the Mountain West basketball preview for Lindy's, so you have to know every team. And this is as good as the league has been since that year when they had 5 in the NCAA tournament. I thought they were kind of overrated that year, and I think they're right up there with that year.
I would agree, at least so far. It would be interesting to see how it kind of plays out as we get closer to conference play and obviously into conference play. But no, I think this, well, again, you see what happens. This is a multiple team. This isn't, I think this easily get 3, can maybe see 4. I don't know if I see 5. Again, it's way early. It's hard to speculate that now, but I agree. This is as good a league, even from top to bottom, than it was the year when they got the 5 teams in, and that was a perfect storm. But I agree. This is as good as the league's been since then, no doubt.
Yeah, I think Colorado State and San Diego State, when all is said and done, will have the resume to get in. And I think a third team will either be close or will win the Mountain West tournament. I think it's going to be a 3-team situation this year, but long way to go. Looking forward to that. Robert, thanks so much for dropping in. Good to see you. Let's if Wyoming goes to a bowl, let's get together next week and talk about that and recap some hoops.
Sounds great. Look forward to it.
All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. See you next time.